In a few weeks, my wife and I are going to be welcoming our second child, Lord willing. No, thank you. Thank you. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Yes. Very exciting. Uh, we're feeling a lot of emotions, as you can imagine. Excited to meet her, thrilled at our family growing, and just thankful that things have been going relatively smoothly. But I can assure you that amongst those emotions, that peace is not one of those emotions. Um, in fact, the anxiety and fear and worry is often on that list. And if you've ever been in a delivery room, you know that peace also does not live in that space. Screaming, sweating, swearing, all of that comes out. Though I can confirm that our room had PG language. Peace and childbirth are two things that just don't go together. Yet, oddly enough, today, in our passage, we see those two very diametrically opposed forces come together. How can that be? How can a child be born to us, and with him comes peace? It doesn't seem to make sense, and yet we want to see how, by God's infinite wisdom, he has chosen this child's birth to bring about the very peace that this world has been longing for all along. We began our Advent series a few weeks back, the one in another series that Abe brought us through. We talked about encouraging one another and as well as waiting with one another. Some very practical applications, basically for us Christians as we await the second coming of Jesus. How does this transform how we treat one another? And today our focus is peace with one another, which is odd given the passage that we find ourselves in today. If you've ever read the book of Isaiah, you find that peace does not really fit in with that book. If you understand the context, you know that God's people sit in a very precarious position. They've been split apart. The northern kingdom has become Israel, and the southern kingdom has become Judah. They don't even get along with each other, and they're in deep trouble. And the passage that Sierra just read for us, we find Judah, the southern kingdom, facing the threat of an Assyrian army coming in to take them over. And essentially, it's the world power of the time, who have been sent as God's judgment upon Judah. And it's as a result of them rejecting him as their king. All right, and it's truly a hopeless situation. And it's in the midst of this very dark moment that we're given this prophecy of hope and peace. And we have to ask, well, what could God be doing to bring about this peace for Judah? The answer shocks us. For to us a child is born. Not an army, not an angelic army, not fire and brimstone, right? But a child's birth is the answer. A child's birth. How can a child's birth bring peace? Not just for Judah, but for us today. And with three simple focuses: peace within ourselves, peace with one another, and peace with God. All right? Peace within ourselves, with one another, and then with God. And so let's start with peace within ourselves. Now, how do we see this? We need to understand the context of Judah's situation. Now, they have enemies all around. Earlier in Isaiah in chapter 7, we see that there are two sides fighting. And I'm going to try to be as clear as possible because it gets kind of confusing with the names. But on one side, we have Israel, the northern kingdom, teamed up with Syria, not to be confused with Assyria. All right. So we have Israel, Syria, fighting against Assyria on the other side. Maybe they don't like each other's names. I don't know. And as they're fighting, Judah is smack dab in the middle, stuck because Israel and Syria want to take Judah to have them join in an alliance against Assyria. Now we have King Ahaz, the king of Judah, finding himself in a very tough situation. And God goes to King Ahaz, the king of Judah, and says, hey, buddy, don't trust Israel, don't trust Syria, but trust in me. He tells Ahaz, through Isaiah, that one day Israel is going to fall. And he even says, I'm going to offer to show you a sign to strengthen you in this moment, to encourage you in this moment. I mean, imagine that, being in his shoes, being in a tough situation. God comes to you and says, let me show you a sign of how I'm going to take care of you. Let me strengthen you. Now imagine this. Ahaz says, no, thank you, which is shocking. God comes to him and says, I'm going to give you a promise. And he says, no, I'd rather not. Instead, he says, I'm going to come up with my own plan. I'm going to come up with my own plan to save myself and save my country. And 2 Kings chapter 16, it tells us of this plan. Ahaz decides to go to Assyria, and he offers up his own treasures, the treasures of the king, as well as the treasures of God's temple as payment. And he says, will you, Assyria, come and fight off Israel and Syria? Assyria says, sure, we were going to do it anyways. Takes the money, destroys Israel and Syria, just like God said would happen. And for a moment, if you stop right there, it seems that Ahaz was wise. He figured it out. He solved the problem. Judah is saved. Except what was the price? Now Judah has been subjugated to Assyria. The king's treasury is empty. God's temple is empty. The Davidic throne is now bowed down to a pagan power. And now we have the introduction of idolatry within Judah's borders. So what did Ahaz actually achieve? If you read in the 2 Kings and you go further along in the story, you find that during Ahaz's son's reign, Hezekiah, guess who comes back knocking on his door? It's not Amazon, it's Assyria. And the son tries the same tactic. He tries to pay off Assyria just like his father did, but it doesn't work this time. And in fact, Judah becomes conquered this time and exiled, and only because of God's kindness is Jerusalem saved and spared. So what do we do with this story? All right, what does it have to do with the child born to us in chapter 9 that we read about? What does it have to do with the peace that we find within ourselves or we desire for ourselves? You see, Ahaz was a troubled man. He sought peace. He looked outside his kingdom. He looked outside his palace windows, and he saw that the situation was too dire when he saw pressure from every side. And he asked himself, what can I do to solve this situation? I need to do something. And it's amazing to see what God's command to him in that moment as he's frightful. Chapter 7, verse 4, it says this. This is God speaking to him. He says, be careful. Be quiet. Do not fear. And do not let your heart be faint because of those two smoldering stumps of firebrand. Speaking of Israel and Syria, he says, be careful. Be quiet. Meaning what? Do nothing. Stay silent. Now, how could God say something like that? Do nothing in this situation? God, are you serious? Are you kidding me? Right? God says, do nothing. Why? Because I'll take care of you. Right? In chapter 7, verse 7, he says, it shall not stand. It shall not come to pass. He's talking about the people coming against him. He says, for the head of Syria is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is Rezin. And within 65 years, Ephraim, Israel, will be shattered from being a people. You don't have to act. I will take care of you. You don't have to do anything. I will defeat your enemies. I will bring you peace, is what he's saying. Israel, Syria, who stand against you, they will be brought low. And yet Ahaz hears that, and he refuses to listen because of the lack of peace within his own soul. Right? Why would he refuse God? Because his soul is at war with God. 65 years? Maybe 6 years, God. Maybe even 16 years, God, I could deal with. But 65, God, you are out of your mind. You don't know what you're doing. I need a better answer. I have to come up with a better answer. That's why he rejects God's answer, and he seeks to bring about his own peace, to calm the chaos in his soul. And he says, I'm going to do what I think is wise. And in so doing, he brings about the downfall of Judah. He doesn't trust God. See, at the core, he's not at war with Assyria or Israel or Syria. He's at war with God. And therein lies his issue. Therein lies our issue. You see, this first point says peace within ourselves is not entirely accurate, because our lack of peace actually points us to a lack of peace with God, which we'll get to at the end. But I do want to address this. My friends, are we at war with God? Are you at war with God? And this is most obvious to us when we find ourselves in a similar situation, where we're pressed up against on every side. We feel like we have no answers, and we look to God, and we begin to look at his answers, and we're befuddled at his answers. Are you serious, God? That's your answer to me? I'll give you two examples, very simple ones. First off, singleness. All right, you're getting older. You look around, all your friends are starting to date, get married, and the desperation starts to settle in. Right? You turn on the apps, and the apps might be broken because nothing's happening, and you're wondering, oh man, what is going on? You begin to get frustrated with the situation. God, why did you put me in San Francisco? Right? You begin to get frustrated with God. And instead of seeking contentment, instead of seeking to trust God to work even in these moments, we begin to throw out our convictions. Well, does it matter if they're Christian? Does it matter if they love God? They put Christian on their app. I think that counts for something, right? Oh, this person is showing me affection. Well, yeah, sure, let's go for it. Because clearly God doesn't care about me. His plans are all off. You want me to wait how long? 65 years? I have to do something to fix the situation. At war within ourselves, or work, right? If not singleness, work. If you believe you deserve that promotion and yet things haven't gone your way, you've put in so much work, countless hours, not 40 hours, 50 hours, 60-hour weeks, and you're thinking, God, look at all this work I'm putting in. You get to get frustrated and annoyed with God. Why am I not getting promoted? You begin to, think like, well, maybe I need to cut corners. Maybe I just need to look for ways to boost myself up, make myself look better, and sell out in order to get this position. Because that's what's going to give me peace. That's what's going to calm the chaos within. And God clearly doesn't care about my needs. Why would you let that guy be promoted? I'm more deserving. Right? I have to do something to fix the situation. And we're more like Ahaz than we could ever know. We find ourselves at odds with God, unhappy with his answers, and we feel deeply at unease in our souls. And so this chaos that we feel ravages us from inside. And it shows up as emptiness, as fear, as anxiety. And we act out of that chaos. God, you don't know what you're doing, therefore I must act. And we often get into more trouble as a result. We grow more chaotic, more angry. And yeah, sometimes temporarily it seems like we solve the problem. Yeah, if you get that girl to like you back, you start a relationship, you get married, and then you recognize that her faith was not her own at all. Or you do everything in your power to cheat, lie, and steal and make your way to the top. And you find your soul completely empty. Do we realize that the chaos we feel comes from our war with God and not so much the situation itself? Yes, the situation is terrible. Sometimes it's absolutely horrific what we find ourselves in. There's no minimizing that. But often what wrecks our hearts is our refusal to trust God in those moments. Not so much the situation. We feel like God has nothing good to offer us. His plans are not so good. My friends, do you want that peace within? Do you want that peace that defies understanding? Remember God's command to the terrified Ahaz. He says to him, "Be quiet, do not fear. Be still, do nothing. Know that I am God." In other words, trust me. Yes, I know the situation is terrible. I know you're in a place you don't want to be. Trust me through this. Let me walk with you through it. It doesn't mean that as Christians, we're just to do nothing when situations get bad. That's not what this passage is saying. But he is asking each and every one of us, do you trust me in these moments? Do you trust me to take you through these moments, to walk you through to the very end? Look at my promises for you. And let your heart find its firm foundations in me. And you find that when you do, those waves begin to still. Yes, they may batter you for a moment. They may batter you for a season. And yet your anchor holds still within those storms. You want peace within yourself? Don't look to yourself for that peace. You won't be able to find it. But look to God. Look to his character. Look to his track record. Has he ever failed you before? Has he proven himself to you? How has he saved you before? Has he ever been wrong? I'm not asking if you liked his answers. I'm asking you, has he been wrong in his answers? And if he's always been good, and his word is always trustworthy, then can you trust him to be good for you today? To be true to you today? Because it is only then, when your heart recognizes the truth of who God is, you will find that chaos minimizes. It subsides. That's when you discover the peace that goes beyond understanding. It's not circumstantial change. It's not situational change or a more positive outcome, but it comes from knowing him and trusting him. Oh, he is a good God, my friends. He is trustworthy. And you're in the best hands possible. Second, peace with one another. Look at peace within ourselves and now peace with one another. You see, the peace that comes with this child is not just confined to ourselves, but rather to our relationships all around us as well. Context will help us understand this. At the time of Isaiah, the nation of Judah had become a pretty terrible place to live, especially for those who are weak and poor. Chapter 1, verse 16, it says this: "Wash yourselves, make yourselves clean, remove the evil of your deeds from before my eyes, cease to do evil, learn to do justice, or learn to do good, seek justice, correct oppression, bring justice to the fatherless, plead the widow's cause." This is his calling to the people of Judah to turn from their wicked ways. And this is one of the reasons why God brought Assyria to their doorsteps in order to be judgment upon them, because they refused to change. They refused to take care of the weak and the poor. In fact, they preyed on them. They took advantage of them, and they became corrupt. And we find out that the problem goes all the way to the top, as in chapter 10, it tells us that the people in charge, the authorities, the leadership, the government, had also made laws in order to take advantage of the weak as well, for selfish gain, oppressing the poor in order to build up their own kingdoms. And this goes against everything that the Lord has commanded them, against his word, against his heart. And so therefore he brings upon his wrath. So what do we do with that? All right, it's very easy for us to remove ourselves from the situation. It's very easy for us to look at these stories and shake our heads and be, wow, that's terrible. I would never do such a thing. But I think we tend to be a little bit too easy on ourselves. I think we simply need to ask, what is at the core of their actions? What drives them? What is their motivation to do these things to one another? Right? It's very easy for us to paint them as Marvel villains. They're just evil because they're evil. But that's not the case, I don't think. I think they're regular people who are out to seek what's best for themselves. Because that is what drives each and every one of us to selfishness and greed, isn't it? I'm just looking out for myself. It seems very tame. Right? You can even say that they are seeking out their own peace by oppressing others. Right? Think about it. Why oppress other people? Just to keep yourself at the top. To maintain your own peace, being the top dog. Right? Why ignore the widows and the fatherless? You're protecting your wealth. And you maintain your peace and comfort of having much. Why take advantage of others? You ensure that you'll benefit in all the circumstances. You enjoy the peace of gaining while other people are losing. Some of this is coming from seeking the wrong peace. I don't think they're villains. I think they're people. I think they're broken and sinful and selfish people who want the wrong peace. And therein lies our human issue. We want the peace that harms others because it benefits us. It's the peace of the world, which always comes at great cost to someone else. It's always selfish and self-serving. My peace is more important than others. Right? If I benefit, then it doesn't matter who I hurt. And sometimes it's not even malicious, as if we're sitting behind closed doors, fiddling our thumbs and going, oh man, I wonder who I can take advantage of today. That's not how it often looks. We're not plotting someone else's downfall. We're just so fixated on ourselves and what we can gain that we've lost sight of other people. I'll give you examples. I may offend some or all of you here, so buckle up. Nearby, there's a street that is closed off on a regular basis since 2020, since the COVID era. You laugh because you know. The food bank hosts a food pantry. They bring up a truck, and they begin to hand out free food to people who are in need. Emphasize on in need. I cannot tell you how many times I've rolled by, and I cannot count for you how many luxury cars I see rolling up to take free food for those who are in need. You know the food taken is not going to someone who actually is in need. Yeah, we just call that being financially smart. Or, this one is going to be even more offensive. If you have comments or emails, send it to Joey. This one seems even more benign. You love dramas. They're from overseas. You could pay, but you know there's a site. Who am I harming? I'm just watching my dramas, even though I know I'm stealing it from someone. Other times it is intentional. Other times it is malicious. We know about, for instance, we know we're about to be passed up for the position of our dreams, for our coworkers. He or she is going to get that position I've been longing for. And then when we're asked about our thoughts on this coworker, though we think they're actually a very good worker, a diligent worker, we do everything in our power to see doubt about their character or their abilities just so we can get the job. My friends, this is the peace of the world. What can I do to get what gives me peace, even if it costs others? Even if it harms others? It is a selfish peace, and this is the same kind of peace that brought Israel and Judah to their knees. They destroyed their own society. They harmed the weak and the poor and have taken advantage of one another, and in so doing have angered the Lord. And so what is the answer? How can we have peace with one another? We need a different peace. We need the peace of God. We need a peace that is selfless rather than selfish. And where can we find such a peace? It's from the Prince of Peace himself, from this child who was born to us, the one who has come to create and place upon our broken world his good peace, his selfless peace. He who has come to abolish the broken, selfish peace of humanity and give himself to us. Unlike our self-serving peace, which harms others, his peace was self-sacrificing, and he only brought about harm to himself. Instead of taking advantage of the weak and poor, he came out to seek the weak and poor in order to serve them, ultimately by taking their place, our place upon the cross. You see, God's peace also comes at a great cost, but not to us, but to him. He is the one who paid the price for this peace. On the cross, he won for us the eternal, selfless peace of God, because there he died for our sins and made us holy and righteous and perfect, meaning we owe nothing. Meaning, hear this, we lack nothing. That lack, that perceived lack, is what drives our selfish peace. It's because I feel like I need something else. And see, the selfless peace of God says you lack nothing because I've given you everything in Christ. Everything your heart or soul could ever desire is already won for you in Jesus. And if that's the case, you don't need to harm others. That peace is already yours. That's what gives us the right peace. And herein lies the secret to finding peace with one another. My friends, if we understand that God's peace, or God's Son, has paid the price for us in order to give us that perfect peace, we no longer need the imperfect peace of the world. We've already been made right. We've been made whole again in Jesus. And if we've been made whole, we have no need to take advantage of others. And if you have everything you need in Christ, then you can be selfless. In fact, you can give yourselves more freely than you've ever imagined. Sacrificing, giving yourself away, and in some sense, being taken advantage of, just like your God was taken advantage of for your sake. See, the peace that the world longs for is not found in social reform. It's not found in education. It's not found in philosophy, but it's only found in the Prince of Peace who has come to transform us from the inside out by giving himself to us and for us. You see, when people who are filled to the brim with the gospel come together, there's a transformation that takes place in each of us. That each of us, as each of us becomes more selfless and seeks to give away more of ourselves, that we get rid of our inherent selfishness and instead seek to give out what we've received in Christ, there is a divine peace that begins to transform the very fabric of society. And it starts within each of us as we recognize what we've been given. That's how we find peace with one another. When we seek to outdo the other in showing honor and giving up of ourselves and being generous. Oh, how wonderful that would be. Last point, peace with God. Now, if you've been listening, you're thinking through what you've heard about peace with ourselves and peace with one another. I think you recognize that neither of these things are possible without this peace with God. Both of them are foundational, find their foundation in the peace of God, and you can't find the other two without this one. You see, the core issue facing Judah and Israel was not their war with foreign powers, because even though on the surface that seemed to be the main issue, we mentioned this before, the main issue is that they are at war with God. They had rejected God. and they are now at war with him. We saw this in the rebellion of Ahaz, their king, where he literally rejects God to his face. God comes to him and says, can I give you my peace? Can I give you a satisfaction of knowing that you're going to be taken care of for eternity? And of course, we know Ahaz says, no, thank you, I'd rather not. And we see this in the people as well. They don't want to obey him. They don't want to bow to him. They don't want him to be their God. And this problem goes deep. In chapter 1, verse 4 of Isaiah, it says this, talking about the people of Judah. They have forsaken the Lord. They have despised the Holy One of Israel. They are utterly estranged. Now, keep that up there for a little bit. I want to use this verse. What is being said here? Not only have they rejected their Lord, they hate him. They despise him. Right? It's their heart issue against God. And it's the same issue that we have with God today. I mean, if you look at that verse, that started in Eden, in the very garden where we were birthed, where humanity decided that we didn't want him anymore. And this verse is actually the perfect definition of sin. We've forsaken him. We've abandoned him. We've left him. We hate him. We despise him. And we're estranged from him. We're separated from him. Is that not sin? Is that not us? Thank you. You can take that off. So what can we do if this is our issue? I'm going to be honest with us. Nothing. I can't do anything. Actually, if we were left on our own to try to fix this kind of cosmic separation, we'd actually end up further away from him than before. We see this in Ahaz as he rejects God, right? God comes to him and says, come to me. I'll offer you myself. And Ahaz walks away from him. He leaves him. He walks further. We would all do the same. But here's the good news. Even though we forsook him, even though we left him, he did not forsake us. Maybe you're someone who's been running from God for a long time. Maybe you've stumbled and fallen and you're running as fast as you can away from him. Or maybe you think there's just no way this God would ever let me come back to him. Maybe you see yourself in Ahaz. Maybe you're filled with shame and regret and guilt, and you think God would never take me back since I've turned from him. Consider with me, my friend, what God says to Ahaz when Ahaz rejects him. This is chapter 7, verse 14, after Ahaz has rejected him and his sign. Therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. Now, I don't know if you saw the irony in here. Ahaz rejects God, and God rejects his rejection. He says, let me show you a sign. Ahaz says, no, thank you. He says, let me show you a sign anyways. Ahaz sought to forsake God, and God said, no. I will not forsake my people. I will show you a sign anyways. I'm not going to push you away, but I'm going to invite you in. And my friend, God invites you in as well. You can run, you can hide, but I'm going to chase you down. I'm going to offer you myself in the form of a promise to you. Right there, a son, a child born of a virgin. And you don't have to look very hard for a son born of a virgin. There's only one. And the promise is in his name, Emmanuel, meaning God with us. Meaning, I have not abandoned you, Ahaz. I have not abandoned you, my friend, even if you have abandoned me. If you have abandoned me 1,000 times, I will come back to you 1,001 times. Actually, don't check the math on that. I'm not sure about that. But I'll come back for you. I'm not going to leave you. I'm with you. You see, we can have peace with God, not by anything we do, but simply by clinging to his promise of Emmanuel. For this child is born to us, it says in chapter 9. Right? A son is given. That's him. As Emmanuel. Because Emmanuel is the child born to us. He's Christ the Lord. And it says a son is given to us. Why is he given to us? He's given to be a sacrifice. To end up on the cross where he would be able to undo the damage of our sins. You see, on the cross, God forsook his own son so he would not forsake us. That's why Christ cries out, my God, why have you forsaken me? He says that so you and I don't have to say that. On the cross, he loved us even though we despised him. On the cross, he brought us back to him even though we were estranged from him. You see, on the cross, he undid chapter 1, verse 4. He undid the Garden of Eden. If this is the truth, my friends, if Jesus is God's promise to us, then we have nothing left to fear. Because of Jesus, we are now at peace with God forever and ever. See, in our darkest moments, you and I must remember his promises to us. And there are many, but there's one that always strikes down the chaos every time. It is Emmanuel, that he is with us. He is not here to fight against us. He is not against us, but he is with us through our darkest valleys. That's why we can recite with the psalmist in Psalm 23, where it says, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Why? For you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You are with me. Emmanuel, God has never left us. See, this is the promise that saves us. It's the promise that promises to give us peace. You are with me. You are with me, and I am with you, and this will never change. Yes, the situation may not change. The situation might actually get worse over time, but God, you are with me, and you will never abandon me. And this ultimate reality is what transforms us. It is that we are at peace with God. Our holy God no longer stands against us, but because of the work of his Son, the baby born of a virgin, he is with us to the very end. Oh, my friends, this is the peace that we so desperately seek. And it's yours to have.